Carmack. The Money Masters, the film, we are carrying it on DVD at Infowars.com. Only $19.95, ladies and gentlemen, to get the full history of the true owners of the planet. Now, they got control of the planet through fraud. That means it's illegitimate. That means we can declare independence against these robber barons.
Terror Storm, a history of government-sponsored terror. Loose Change Final Cut. Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. The True Story of the Bilderberg Group. The Late Great USA. America, Freedom to Fascism. These are just a few of the hundreds of powerful documentary films and books available at truthnews.us and prisonplanet.com. When you visit prisonplanet.com, you can connect to our amazing online store. Whether you're looking for survival and wellness products like Berkey water filters, or you would like a book on the history of the Federal Reserve, we've got the most well-researched and documented titles, all available at prisonplanet.com. Or if you'd like, you can give the InfoWars store a call at 888-253-3139. Or you can view more than 1,000 titles in super high quality right now at prisonplanet.tv. Knowledge is power. The information you need to effectively wake up your fellow man and fight the New World Order is available right now at truthnews.us and prisonplanet.tv. Join the Info War today.
It is now time to rein in evil and bring them to justice. Through the authority that has been delegated to us, it is time to destroy the destroyers. The number of the mounted troops was 200 million, the vast majority of the population of the U.S. Though the people of the U.S., where their numbers and influence are strongest, have primary responsibility for reining them in and bringing them to justice, all nations will participate since they reside the world over. They are called Illuminati, elite proponents of the New World Order. They oppose everything that is God and truth. They are of the line that was disinherited 2,000 years ago. Everything they have built over the centuries, the wealth they have accumulated, the power they have established, the poisoning of the masses, the destruction of the earth and mankind, we will undo through the authority that has now been delegated to us. Visit our website at unveilingthem.com. That's UNVEILING them.com. The message of his kingdom.
The United States seems to be celebrating over its triumph of reducing government debt. But the truth be told, public and private debt increased to a record high in 1999, reaching a peak of $14.8 trillion, marking 10.57% annual increase, outpacing its previous 10 years. The U.S. economy receives its currency by taking on debt through private banking institution called the Federal Reserve System. In the year 2000, debt growth collapsed to only 4.5%. It's bad enough that the U.S. citizens is bound by debt in order to have commerce. However, shocking the economy with a reduction of this magnitude could wipe out years of growth in a stock portfolio. Before you make your next investment decision, get the cold hard facts. Call 1-800-686-2237 for your free report on the outstanding level of public and private debt. You must understand how recession and depression are driven by outstanding debt. Call 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
Every 22 seconds, a violent crime is committed. Are you concerned about your personal safety? Why wait for something bad to happen when you can take action now? Be smart. Be safe. Trust Pepper Spray instead of your luck. Pepperspray.com is the only website you'll ever need for all your non-lethal self-defense supplies. Pepperspray.com carries one of the largest assortments of pepper spray and personal safety products on the web, including mace, animal repellents, stun guns, and tasers. Pepperspray.com also carries a large assortment of products for personal, home, child, and pet safety. Pepperspray.com is proud to feature Savor brand Pink Ribbon Pepper Spray. For every Savor Pink Ribbon Pepper Spray sold, a donation will be made to the National Breast Cancer Foundation. Enter the word pepper in the coupon box, and you'll receive 10% off your order. So what are you waiting for? Go to pepperspray.com. That's pepperspray.com, or call 1-800-908-9988. Call today.
We're talking about the owners of the globe. They did it through a massive scam, a fraud, a trick of the money changers, of the goldsmiths. And Bill Still tells me the real expert, the brain behind the film, is Pat Carmack. So we'll talk to them both here on air now. Okay, Bill, you've gotten to the point of you start waking up, you start looking at banking, then you get connected in with Bill Still. You guys decide to make a film. Go through it. I mean, go through the big secret, the biggest game in town here.
Well, actually, we had some help from Milton Friedman during the making of the film. It kind of morphed slightly. I talked to Friedman out at Stanford. He was a professor at Stanford University. And he said, boy, you know, if you kill the Federal Reserve System, you haven't done anything unless you kill fractional reserve, too. And so that kind of re-emphasized the importance of the fractional reserve system as well. I'll let Pat take it from there.
Well, what Dr. Friedman talked about with us and wrote to us about was, you know, as Bill mentioned, fractional reserve banking. And what it is, it's where the banks literally create money. And obviously, if banks can create money and they loan it at interest, then they have, you know, the goose that laid the golden egg, and the money starts flowing to them. And wealth gets concentrated in our society in the hands of bankers. And that's
the key, I want you to speak to this, they have an incentive to get real assets to overextend people's credit, wanting them to not pay it back so they get real assets.
Sure. Whenever there's a recession or depression, then they're able to foreclose on, you know, the people who can't pay the bills, and that's inevitable when they tighten credit.
So that's their boom time is our bust. That's the vampire feeding.
That's right, but you have to understand it's mainly the big banks. The small banks often are victimized too because they're not part of the, you know, of the insiders on the global scale.
Yes, it's always a shearing and consolidation period. Continue.
Well, for instance, you know, the 5 major banks in this country have over 1 million employees that work directly for them. Of the $6 trillion of deposits in banks, these 5 major banks control approximately $3.5 trillion. So over half of the money in the entire country is 5 major banks, and they have interlocking directorates. So it's very easy to see how they can control the entire economy. If anyone can control the economy, and they can, and this was one of Friedman's main critiques of the existing system, that's too much power to put in the hands of a handful of people.
And we're now seeing accelerated vertical integration.
Yes, and that's just concentration of wealth. It's happening on a global scale, too. I mean, there's virtually no nations that are exempt from this because they all have fallen into this fractional reserve banking system. In short, they've turned over to private banks or private corporations owned by private persons their economies. And the result is those people are using it to concentrate wealth even further. The UN released figures that approximately 200 people now own as much of the world as the poorest 3 billion. And in the United States, it's not far from that. 1% own 95% of the wealth. 13,000 families own as much as, in the United States, own as much as 20% of the poorest people in the United States, which would be about 60 million people.
But it's not just how much they own. By having that much wealth, they can also then steer and control the rest.
Yeah, it's leveraged very well. I mean, in other words, the average person owns a home, a car, and a few minor assets. When you exceed, you know, the power to pay your utilities and all, then you start putting it, at least if you're power hungry, you start putting it into media, into political, you know, donations to politicians. You know, you leverage it so that even though they're, you know, they may not own everything in this country yet, and they certainly don't, it's leveraged for maximum political power.
Right. The operative word is hegemony. In other words, you don't have to own everything to control most of it. You know, everyone always complains these days that Washington doesn't seem to be responsive to the voting electorate, and this is why, because money has become concentrated into so few hands that they control the political process, whether the politicians going in think that they can do it or not. They ultimately can. So by eliminating, by reforming our monetary system, it not only gives more money to the rest of us, it also returns our democracy to us.
Absolutely. Please continue.
Well, we were talking about the root of it, and it's this fractional reserve banking, and we go into the history. It goes way back, but in terms of modern times, it really started in the 1600s in Sweden with Riksbank there, which made loans to the government, even though it was a private bank.
We're going to break in a moment, sir. Long segment coming up. So we're going to have an interruption for a while. But I think it's important to go back even earlier so people get a basic grasp of what money is. You know, it's this agreed-upon symbol of wealth to get past just barter. and maybe get into the tally sticks and things like you guys do.